And go live. Okay, okay, guys. Good morning, good night, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. This is another episode of the Melanated Files. My name is Ranzo, and this is episode number 10, of course. And of course, I'm joined by
Janique. Hi, everybody.
right. So this is episode number 10, and we've been doing this what 10 weeks now approximately. We've missed like 2 weeks because like we were MIA, as we said. And just a quick announcement before we even start. Um, the Melanated Files interview series that we have on YouTube, we're gonna start releasing the some past episodes on this podcast starting this upcoming week. So this coming week, we're gonna start that. We spoke about that last week, but this week is when we're gonna actually start that rolling out those interviews. So some of you guys, there might be interviews that you've watched already, potentially, or there might be interviews that you never had the time to watch that you can listen to on the podcast, right? So again, this podcast will be an amalgam of the interviews and the discussion. So once per week, we'll have these discussions that we're having right now, right? These ones with me and Jay. And then we'll have the Melanated Files interviews, a number of them during the week, on the podcast as well. So that's going to be the way we're going to be moving forward. And again, guys, good morning, good night, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming on. This is episode number 10. Remember, the goal of this podcast is to engage in solution driven discussions, right? That can aid the black community across the globe because we want to change our position. And the thing is, if we don't do it, who will? Right? That's the point of what we're doing. We are sick and tired of discussing problems. We want to talk about solutions. That's what we're about. And that's what we are, right? So, I'll let Jay say some opening words. I guess if she wants to say something that might be on her mind. And there's one thing that I just want to touch on briefly, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't like discussing people. So, but there's just one thing I saw in the news that I want to touch on just briefly, and then we'll move on. Yeah.
Okay, no. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about it now.
I wasn't gonna talk about it now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Actually, recently I've been doing just a little bit of research and just thinking about, in regards to the black community, where we are financially. We talk a lot about ownership and bettering ourselves and, entrepreneurship. We've had a couple people on here talk about, you know, um, being in different industries. And one thing that I've never done much research on before was the Black Wall Street. And so I started to read some interesting content about how they owned hotels and movie theaters and just they had everything. And this was in the 1920s. That's crazy. And what was even more interesting was apparently there were two airports in Oklahoma and six black families owned private airplanes
Wow.
in the 1920s.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Oh no, that's news to me. So you're educating me this morning. Love
Yes,
it.
so like six black families within that community had their own private airplanes. I was just like, I don't even know many people now. I mean, maybe some mega pastors, but
You know what? And the thing too is, this is what we talk about, and we know what happened, right? So maybe you want to
yeah.
just like talk about what happened a little bit with how that
Um,
came to an end.
Right. So apparently there was the reasoning for the uproar of the white community. What happened to Black Wall Street was that
Black Wall Street.
they set the place on fire and destroyed like every building pretty much. I think approximately about 9,000 people were left homeless after the damage. And basically the black community was doing well, very well compared to their white close
Counterparts.
counterparts. They were doing extremely well, living very high class, and a lot of their neighbors were not having it. They had plumbing in the 1920s. Indoor plumbing was like it
A
was
rarity.
it was a privilege, yeah. So a lot of their homes had indoor plumbing, Their kids were going to their own schools. Their kids were being really well educated. They had banks, like I said, banks, hotels, movie theaters, you name it, they had it. Everything that you needed in a community, even what we see today, right? Um, I think what had happened was there was one man who bought land, and he made it his choice to only I think it was about 40 acres of land I read, and he made it his choice to only sell land to African Americans. Um, and that's how the community started. And because they refused to buy outside of their community, the finances just kept growing within the community. So it was it was just like a real success, and
Yeah.
just built the community higher and higher and higher, to the point where the white people in outside could not handle it, and claimed that a particular individual had raped someone in their community, and such that was their reason for setting the place on fire.
It's stuff like this. These historical events um get me. And I'm the type of person that I can't watch like slavery movies. Like I can't. I get pissed off. Like yeah, I can't. I can't watch those movies. Um, so I stay far from them.
Hmm.
And usually when I hear stories like this, right, the Black Wall Street, and see like videos online and read articles online about injustices, injustice overall, uh, I am vehemently opposed. Um, I oppose, right, every form of injustice. I'm a man of justice, I believe. And hearing a story like that, we're talking about one, an element of human nature where people driven by jealousy, driven by envy, driven by hate will do things to, like, literally, can you imagine, they rob the people of everything.
Hmm.
They robbed the people of everything, not just because like not just because like of like, it's, as I said, it's a human thing, right? So some humans, of course, anyone's success, and this is something that I believe, I think it was TD Jakes that actually said this, that your success at any level, right, well, I believe he said, um will open an opportunity for envy, pretty much. So someone, it doesn't matter what level it is. If you and someone are living in the inner city community, right, in the hood or whatever, and maybe one person just happened to like get indoor plumbing, for instance, like you're saying, and then you don't have it, even if it's something just so incremental, something not that significant, or someone maybe got a different car, like the later version, this year version, and you have the one from last year, that that little like incremental progress, not that you're comparing yourself to anyone, you're just doing your thing.
Mm.
And then the person across the street now, because of that little opportunity, that your success at any level, you got 95, they got 90%, your success at any level,
Hmm.
like, brings about an opportunity for envy. So it's like whenever you're doing anything,
Hmm.
and you have a little success, it doesn't matter how small it is, it creates this environment where weak-minded people
Mm.
will move into a place of envy.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like what happened then. And
Hmm.
then what actually, what's what I'm trying to find, what magnified this, for lack of a better term, is that the whole racial tension that existed during that period of time, right? So it's crazy, and I can't wait. You did the research, so you might, maybe you can correct me or not.
Hmm.
Was this around Marcus Garvey time? I'm not sure. I feel like it's around that time. Wasn't Marcus Garvey
Well,
19? Is it 1919, 1909, somewhere around there? Well,
in
okay.
earlier parts, but
Okay, so
yeah,
okay, so you don't have the data. So,
yeah,
okay, so
not
I'm not sure.
but it was
I'm not
1921 when it happened.
okay.
It
Okay,
happened in
so
1921.
I'm not sure about the date. But if it's around the time when Marcus Garvey walked the earth, then it could be maybe like influenced by that. That might have played a role. I'm not sure. I don't know the data, so I could be wrong. I don't know the date, so don't quote me on that. But that fact actually is irrelevant. But I'm saying, like, given the racial climate of that time, And as you said, you were taken aback because you're saying it's 1920. You're like, what? You're like 1920 is so far back, and we're
Yeah.
going through what we're going through today. Imagine back then, it would have been more hostile.
Mhm.
So it's crazy, and this is what I'm talking about when I talk about that we're climbing a mountain like everyone else in humanity. All humans, we're climbing a mountain. And black people, when it comes down to races, black people, we have this thing on our backs while we're
Mhm.
climbing. So it's harder for us to summit the mountain. These people back then, they did what they did, right?
Mhm.
They were moving ahead, and they never cared about other people just because, of course, their position they had to take care of themselves because of the environment. So you know that no one else would do it for you, so they took it upon themselves to do it for themselves.
Mhm.
And they were doing it. And they were successful at doing it. And that created an opportunity for envy. And then, these people came in and they did what they did. And it's something I talk about, like it's crazy because even if I feel, even if we start, and this is, oh God, I don't know, the conversation is going down a road that I I wasn't like, but it's important, so I'll try to like tiptoe around this a little bit. I'll see how I can bring this up, but it's important for me to go here. Um, as I said, it's a human thing when it comes on to uh, for people to be envious, right? It's a thing, and then that's compounded. That's the word I should have used. Compounded by the whole racial environment or climate back then. Present day, it's like when you have some interactions with, I'll just say some people,
Mhm.
some of the conversations always go in a certain direction, right? And you're saying to yourself, why does a conversation always go?
Towards.
I'm gonna be ambiguous.
No, no,
You
no.
guys just
Just
fill in the
be
blanks.
specific.
I can't be specific with this,
Okay.
because Anyways, some people, a specific cohort, um, in my experience, and I've heard it before, we're having conversations and it goes into a certain direction that has nothing to do with what's taking place. It's something about maybe your prestige or finances or some other stuff that has nothing to do with anything. Like it's almost like a conversation to try to like place you in a group. You understand what I'm trying to say? You're having a conversation and it's like trying to figure out where should I place you, right? If you don't fit the mold
Are you,
of, like, for instance, like what a black person should be,
okay, that's
it's like
yeah, yeah.
now you're trying to fit the person, like you're trying to it's almost like you're trying to measure up yourself,
Mhm.
right? It's a certain group that I've always encountered this with. Like having some conversation is always like trying to like, and the conversations always go there. I'm like, for what? What reason? It's almost like when we were doing business back in Canada.
Mhm.
Whenever we would have some conversation, it always goes to like trying to like figure out where you are. And I'm like, it's a thing
Like
with only,
status or class
yeah, with
wise.
only a specific group. They're always trying to find, in my experience, where you are to put you there to maybe try to measure up to see, okay, well, let me see where this person is. Let me try to fit myself.
Oh, I
And
understand what
so
you're
I guess
saying.
it's almost like the setup to decide how you should be treated, whether or not you're a person that should be targeted potentially, or an object of envy or jealousy, right? Because of course, black people should be subservient. Black people should occupy this seat, and if they're not there, then my position is being threatened. Because if they're not here, then it means something is off, and you got to try to preserve your position. So if they're not in their place, quote unquote, then it's like, okay, like then you might get a little bit uncomfortable. And that's why usually when change is coming in any way, shape, or form in any facet of society, whenever that starts taking place, the predominant group, or or the prevalent ideology, or the people who occupy a certain position, and change is coming close to that, they start shifting in their seats because they're getting uncomfortable now. Like, okay, well, they're becoming insecure because it's like, well, if they're progressing, then it means that maybe I'm regressing. What's going on? Are they going to take my position? What's going on? So it's kind of, it's one of those little weird little thing. And I think what happened in 1921 with Black Wall Street was something like that. Just seeing the success of the black people is almost like an object of like their failure. They might see it as, and it doesn't have to be that. Someone else thriving doesn't mean that you're not thriving, or that you're not going to thrive. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So in their mind, they interpreted it as that. That's my interpretation of what took place back then. But even now, when we're trying to find these solutions, some people, for instance, some comments, and even on the channel, you see comments and you're like, why would someone why would someone be writing a comment like this that has no significance or relevance to what's taking place? You see someone that's doing something, maybe someone that I've interviewed, and they're doing something positive, good things, and someone took time out of their day to come on the comment section and write a comment, almost trying to the word just missed my mind or something, but they're almost trying to um, reduce, this is for lack of a better term, the word left me, for lack of a better term, they try to reduce the significance of what the person was doing, because whether it's they're trying to put that out there to maybe try to discourage the person or to feel better about themselves, they're trying to just to put something out there, some negative energy, to be like, I don't want to say what one of the comments was that I saw, because I don't want to identify the person that the comment was. Then again, people write all sort of comments all over it, but I don't want to give the specifics. But it's almost like if someone did something good, they try to find a way, something wrong with it, to make it seem less significant than it actually is. And that's usually a trait of jealousy. When someone tries to downplay what you've done, the significance of what you've done, that's actually a trait of that as well. So sometimes when they see comments like that, it's like, I guess they see it and they're like, snap. I remember there was a comment on this one where someone was asking about, oh, are there any black engineers or something? And then this individual commented on the thing, and they were saying, oh well, like black engineers, laugh out loud, like almost as, which is so dumb, because we know so many black engineers. There's so many. I can't even name them, more than 10. Like, I don't have enough fingers to name the black engineers that I know. And I'm like, a comment like that is so dumb that you're like, it's almost like, okay, you're trying to like, you understand, you're trying to downplay the significance of what's actually taking place, because you might feel threatened, or it's something that you don't like. Right. So this whole move, even what we're trying to do right now with um, repair the image of black people, and try to find solutions for the problems that we're facing, not everyone will like it, because it represents something positive. It represents moving forward. It represents removing ourselves from a position that is advantageous to other people, and they want to keep us there for whatever reason. So any movement from that place in their minds will be interpreted as threatening their position and maybe regression on their part. So we can look at that as a potential model. 1921, with the destruction of Black Wall Street. People have always been trying to progress, and that's the thing. It's a matter of, it's not a matter of us trying to progress or not trying to progress.
Yeah.
It's that we're trying to progress, but at the same time, we have so many forces that are fighting against us. You get what I'm trying to say? It's like when you're working out, like when I was working out for the training for the Spartan race, and you put like weights on your ankles, or you put like weights on like your wrists, and you're trying to do burpees with it, just to like strengthen yourself. So it's harder to do, or you're trying to run with that. It makes the exercise harder to do, right? So it's almost like the same thing. You're trying to get something done, but there are so many things that are against you. It makes it so much harder for you to do it, and that's one of the issues, right? And but the good news is, one of the good news, or a part of it, is that these people did it.
Yeah.
Even in such a time, I'm gonna let you want to say something, right? Even at that time, they did it. 1920, which means even now it's possible.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was, like, as you say, we always want to talk about solutions. One of the main things that was the essential key in Black Wall Street was the ownership of land. That's what started what we know as Black Wall Street. Like land ownership.
Yeah. You see,
Land ownership.
And the whole, what I
So
like?
so you want so I want to get into just talking about, if we're going to talk about solutions, like talking about like land ownership, and then also just thinking about not just small businesses but big businesses as well. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's who was I talking to? I can't remember, but you guys know this. This is a common thing. It's cliche. People say this all the time, that money talks, right? And it's like, people talk about economics and the things that we need to do within the community. As you said, one thing that you said that people are trying to get back to is the circulation of the dollar within the black community.
Mm-hmm.
So the refusal to spend it outside but spend it inside.
Mm-hmm.
And some people interpret this as potentially discriminatory. Some people may interpret it as racist. Some people will. And that's why when I was saying certain things earlier, I tried to like tiptoe a little bit. I attempted to, because it doesn't matter what you say. As people interpret it as racist or the so-called fallacious reverse racism, which I believe does not exist, in the sense that people say it. I
Mm-hmm.
believe anyone can be racist, in terms of like having this abhorrent disdain for another person from another race.
But I can say something like, even just to counter that immediately, growing up in Canada and being around many different cultural groups, the South Asian group, like people particularly from India, or people from other parts of Asia. For example, like in Toronto, we have a huge Chinese community and a huge like Punjabi community, and you can see I could see the growth and the development and the strength of the South Asian community within within my hometown, because what? They supported each other financially.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they would eat at the restaurants,
yeah.
they would buy from their grocery stores or whatever. Of course they bought in other places, but
Primarily.
they definitely make sure that their money goes back into their community. They definitely support one another.
And that, yeah, we know this. And the thing is, this is something that is well known. Like, you can't find a person that would deny this, right? They
Yeah.
would say, yeah, that's true. That's the way it works. And oh, every morning, and that's the way it works. And it's like we talk about this, and you said if we're gonna, well, I guess I'm pretty sure someone did a study on this before, or dissecting the whole how Black Wall Street came about, and if we should maybe dissect this this occurrence. And as you said, one element or one thing that was factual back then was that they spent the money within their community.
Mm-hmm.
And some people may interpret that a certain way, but if you need to take care of yourself first before you can assist other people. You get what I'm trying to say? If you're sick,
Yeah.
it's like when they're in the airplane, they're like, listen, put the thing on your face first, get your oxygen mask on first, then you assist. Whether even your child, you got to put yours on first, right? Your parental instinct would say you got to take care of your child first,
Yeah.
but they're saying, look, put it on your face first. Why? There's a reason for that. If you ain't got that oxygen mask on, you will be incapable of helping anyone else. So, given the state of our community, and this is, I wanted to throw a question out there because I wanted to get an idea of what you guys think the state of the community is, because some people might think that we've progressed so far that that we don't need to do anything else, we're fine, and it's just it depends upon the individual to actually make progress on their own. Some of you guys may share that, I'm not sure, but I do believe that we as people have a responsibility to play as an individual as well in your own life,
Mm.
and then collectively we will rise, as I said before. But it's important that we take care of ourselves, and within the community, if we can do that same thing. And you guys know the stats, yeah, or you've heard it. Like the money circulates how many times in other communities before it goes out. In our
Yeah.
community, I think it circulates. I don't know the exact. It's like maybe once or twice or something like that. Like it literally, like once the money hit, it's like out of the community immediately. It might be that potentially that there's not a lot of businesses, so some of the services that you need, some of the products that you need, someone that is black is not providing that, so you have to go outside. That might be a case. I had a conversation about a year ago where someone was saying that black people were further along in the 1960s than they are right now, in terms of the family structure, in terms of just supporting one another, and they felt that more freedoms and more liberty resulted in people becoming lackadaisical and complacent, and then we started a process of regression, bringing us beyond where we were in terms of that type of unity. And I guess it might be the common struggle. I feel that maybe people were so closer together. Because, for instance,
Yeah.
if something should happen right now, if
Mhm.
the world itself should be threatened, I believe everyone would come together just because
Mhm.
they want to survive. So it doesn't matter your race. They're like, listen, all people got to come together to protect the planet, right?
Mhm.
So I think at that time, because something was happening, right? We were under. It was way worse. We can't even compare, some of us, what that was like. We can't even imagine, I should say, what that was like. And that's why we're closer. But that thing, being able to support one another within the community, that dollar that you have, the money that you have, can you find a service that's being offered by someone that's black that you need, that you can actually support them, and they do the same, that they treat customers the way that customers ought to be treated. The Japanese, I like the way that the Japanese do customer service. I think that's
Yes.
the standard
There's
for the
a
world.
lot to learn
It's
from Japanese
amazing. If
people.
you have a company and you have like Japanese customer service, I think your company would do great. Amazon, for instance, I work for Amazon at a point, and Amazon is the world's most customer centric company. And Amazon is a company that, of course, you guys know how Amazon is thriving. And I know the behind the scenes of the way Amazon works. And it's a company that, like, honestly, like that, if you're customer centric, your company will thrive. If you are customer centric, your company will thrive. So that's an
Yeah.
element as well that needs to be adopted by business owners within the black community as well. It's very, very important to take care of your customers. People should know this, but not everyone does. So all these things,
Mm-hmm.
the dollar circulating within the community, because it can be done. Now we have more resources.
Yeah.
Back than 1921,
Oh yeah.
1919, we have more access than back in 1920. And if they were able to do it with the crumbs that they had,
Can you
and
imagine?
right, and just the hostile, just how hostile the time was, and they were able to do that, how much more
No.
us in present day, the world,
Mm-hmm.
2019,
Mm-hmm.
well, we can go to university, there's so many things we can do. We can open our own businesses. We got online even now, and that's what we had a conversation about black people in tech a few weeks ago, and it's so important because that is one of the places where, if we can get in that place, we can
Yeah.
build stuff, and that is a place
Absolutely.
for accelerated wealth. If you're able to come up with something that will solve a problem that is widespread, right? If you can do that, there are so many ways that it can be done, but the mindset,
Yeah.
there's,
Actually,
man,
sorry, just to go back, you were talking about how many times the dollar circulates. In Black Wall Street, sorry, a dollar circulated 36 to 100
oh my
times
gosh, wow,
and remained in the community almost a year, 1 year before leaving.
wow,
Um,
wow.
and again, like I said, the state of Oklahoma only had 2 airports, and yet 6 black families owned their own planes.
You know what? Look, it's possible. We spoke about last week. Look, and you know what? And they never recovered after the attack. They never recovered. And this is a process of trying to break the spirit of a people. You understand? After that, they never recovered, and that's why last week we spoke about mindset and how to have your mind right and how to fortify your own mind because of all these things. Because sometimes we might think that we might have limiting beliefs about what is possible, what can be done.
Yeah,
That's one thing as well. So you as an individual, you're thinking that something needs to be done, but you don't believe in yourself enough to do it. You understand? We maybe look at all the opposing forces and decide that, man, why am I going to try? Because these people are going to try to stop me or block me or whatever the case is. But it's like it has been done before, literally almost a century ago. Like it's almost exactly
okay,
100
100
years,
years
right? You
since.
see, what I'm trying to say,
Crazy.
in terms of the destruction. But all these things can be done. And I understand as well that throughout the world, you have black people in different positions. And I'm coming to the point. I guess this is a perfect segue to what I'm going to touch on. But
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to stay on it too long. But there are different people across the world, from the African diaspora, right, or black people who are doing different things that are in a different social class than most of us, and they're in the upper echelons and they're all over the place, right? And some people might not be able to identify, or they want to distance themselves from the struggle, the things that we're going through, and say, well, they're fine, they don't need to involve themselves in what's actually taking place with the lower class or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, so there's a disconnect. But I think, you know what, there will always be a disconnect. There will always be people for and against. In any group of people, you'll have people with different mindset, but you'll always have more than one person who has the same mindset or the same objective, and they can actually team together or collaborate and work towards it. So it's not about thinking about those who are without, who are not for what you're doing, but focus on those who are for what you're doing, and then you can make a move in a certain direction, right? To solve some of the issues. You get what I'm saying? Like, especially if
Yeah.
you're a person who is facing some of the things or going through the struggles, and you're like, you know what, we need a solution, band together and try to work on something. And it reminded me, like, I don't want to go down this road, but because I read this article, I saw the thing about Jay-Z and the NFL, and
Yes, I saw
certain things came into my mind initially, and then I did some reading, and then I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not sure exactly what it is that he's trying to do, because it seems like is trying to give off the vibe that it's a strategic move, and some people are kind of like giving him the benefit of the doubt in terms of like, okay, where is this gonna lead? Is he's his own man and he can make his own decisions, and as a people, we can't just look up on one individual like, oh, this guy's my savior. We should also be able to look within and say, you know what can I do? What am I doing to remedy what we're facing? Because some people are saying he's a sellout, he's a this, he's a that. I'm not sure what the is the way his mind is working. I'm not sure what his inner workings are. I'm not sure where his mind is. I have my own opinion based on what I see, but then again, I'm not privy to all the facts, so I can't cast judgment really because I don't really know what's going on. But it's like but from what I read, a lot of people were discouraged, and they felt kind of dejected, for lack of a better term, based on what happened. They're like, well, you were supporting Kaepernick, and then now what's going on? Like, you're like a role model, icon, this, but now what's really going on? And a lot of people there's so many different things that people are saying. Some people are saying, well, yeah, he's gonna work from the inside, and some people are saying, no, he's a total sellout. There's different things, there's different groups, and whatever. But I'm saying this is just one of those things where what I'm trying to get to is that I don't want to talk about this. I'm gonna
Mhm.
end right here because I don't like
Mhm.
talking about people. This is one of those things where it's just like, you know what, um, we as a people, we can't just look to one end. You understand? Like, people are looking at maybe like, JC's influential, and he has resources and connections and all these things and the influence, and he's going this way. And some people might get discouraged because they're like, snap, if he's going that way, it means that I need to follow suit if they feel like he's going in the wrong direction. And then some people might get discouraged because they're like, what's going on? If he's going over there and doing what we think has always been done by those people who want to preserve their position and have good, being the good graces of whoever, and they always sell out people. People are saying there's no change if that's how they're interpreting what actually took place. But what I'm saying is that, as on an individual basis, we as individuals need to not look to another man so called for a savior, but try to find out what we can do within ourselves, what we can do within our own communities. And there are things that can be done. People need to this is the age of innovation. Like, this is the time when people are innovative, when people come up with things and you're like, my gosh, like, we have the access to technology, right? There's so many things that we can do, trust me, to advance our position. And I guess it comes back again to black people in tech, why this is very, very important, why we need to actually get more people in that space who are trying to get a solution that can advance our position. You understand what I'm trying to say? There's so many things, but we have it within us to make a difference. And my call to you guys who are watching or listening right now in podcast land is this: is that what can you do? That's a question for you to answer. What can you do? You understand? It's not a matter of being the leader, or you're just trying to say you want to be the leader or whatever, but it's about what can you do as an individual. Are you going to start something? Maybe that might be the way you want to do it in your community to try to, like, effect change, right, on that level, on that scale. Or maybe there's something that you can do, like, in terms of some actionable steps, I'm not sure, for yourself to put yourself in a position where you're not able to assist other people or aid other people. That's one way to do it. So that if another man falls, you don't have this man on a pedestal so high that if he falls, the impact of him hitting the ground like cause you to shake, and then your footing, you lose your footing and you're on your face as well. Right? You gotta have that thing within yourself
Yeah.
that you can stand. And even when this person fall, or falls, you can stand as well and move in a direction to try to do something. I know some people are comfortable, and it's the same thing. I was talking about this last night after my run, is that some people are so comfortable where they are. And because we're comfortable and we enjoy comfort, even if it's not the best place to be, we're familiar with it and we're comfortable with it. So any sort of change which requires dying to the former level, in order for, in my mind, this is how I interpret it. In order for you to matriculate to another level, you have to first die to the first level. You get what I'm trying to say? So if you're moving from high school to university, of course you understand there's certain things you got to get certain grades, you got to pass some exams, you got to get certain things to make sure that you have the prerequisites to enter in. You understand, you if you are a person who's running and working out and you want to set another personal best, you got to die to the former personal best in order to move. And that process of like discomfort that's within this gap of where you are to where you want to go, that process right there, that little gap, that is a place of discomfort, and you have to that's where you die. And a lot of people, when they reach that gap, they turn back because it's too much. The pain is too much. All this is too much. But we have to be able, to move on to that next level and get outside of our comfort zone, and just by just understanding that comfort zones are dead zones. Comfort zones are where dreams go to die. So if you're in that place, it's not the right place for you to be. So some people are comfortable where they are, and as a result, they won't do anything. And then it takes those few people who are uncomfortable with where they are to start something or do something, and then maybe other people might say, you know what, this is actually really uncomfortable. Maybe I should follow that person or be inspired by that person and start, to make some change in my own life. So I think so. There's so many ways to look at it, but the easiest way is that as an individual, we do we do what must be done within our own lives, and we can move on from there. So, we've said a lot. Hopefully you guys can pick a few things here and do a few things with what we said.
Yeah. Um, you said you wanted to ask some questions.
No, I did. I kind of did. I hope they got it because I know I spoke about a few things. But yeah, you want to maybe. So we can move on to the comments right now to tackle the comments a little bit. And
Okay.
then, so, right, because today we're trying to like not go over time. 37 minutes in.
Right. Okay. So I won't even get into
So if
it.
someone wrote a comment and you did it earlier, wait, Jay.
Okay.
If someone did a comment and they wrote it earlier when we were talking,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to make sure the reason why we weren't paying attention to the comments because I want to just get some thoughts out first before, because if we go to comments we got to go back and forth. So we wanted to just lay the foundation first, and then we can go to the comments and see what you guys are saying and respond to it, and then we can move on to the phone lines and move on to conclusion. So yeah. So if you wrote something earlier that we never saw because we weren't looking, write it again if you think it's important and you want it to be heard.
Right. Okay. Darkseed had made a comment, but I guess I'm just trying to understand more. They are asking, where is it? How can I advance my people back home when they are owning slaves?
Hmm?
And then I asked Darkseed, where are you from? I his or her parents are from Libya. So I'm still a little bit confused about what exactly they're referring to, but yeah, a little bit of
Okay.
clarity would be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Anything with those words, anything with that 5-letter word, slave, I am vehemently opposed. So look,
Libya.
you
Yeah.
know,
Okay, Libya.
you,
Yeah.
my 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 methodology, the way that I would go about doing that, um, is yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you need to go and dismantle that. I can't support that in any way, shape, or form, man. Like, I'm not sure how you're gonna do it, whether it's
Yeah, that's
from even present day, like sex slaves and all the different types and stuff that's going on in present day in 2019. Like, if you have look, yeah, it's your family. I'm not sure, you're probably just like a young guy or something, but you gotta like find a way to like, yeah, bro, you gotta like find a way to dismantle that. I'm not sure how. It's clearly going to take a lot of planning, or maybe even get the authorities involved. I'm not sure, but something needs to be done about that. I'm not about any former slave at all. So, yeah, that gets my blood boiling. So,
I
like,
just
yeah,
realized, yeah,
yeah, I know about the
people are
country
from
too. So,
Libya. Yeah, I'm just
yeah,
remembering now about the issues there. That's
find out what can be done. Right, I'm pretty sure it's illegal. Right, I'm guessing it's illegal. So it's your family, so it might be like a, tough cookie or whatever. But figure it out. Like, just go toward justice, please. Think about the people. Yeah, I'm Jamaican. Someone asked that just now.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well, moving forward,
did you get the questions?
there really weren't any other ones
Okay.
that
Any
I could
okay.
see.
Any comments? Anything?
A lot of comments, but they're not worth going into. You
Okay.
can read them after.
Okay.
Although we would like to say thank you to Jessica Thompson for your donation. I did mention it in the comments. Thank you for donating.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you.
Yeah. And we did get confirmation that Marcus Garvey was around that same time as well.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Yeah, so I was going over the research that I did again, and as I was saying, if we're going to talk about, okay, how do we move forward? Okay, last week we talked a lot about mindsets and just like where we are mentally. Um, what I want to go into is just like, okay, not just thinking about small business, because when we look at Black Wall Street, it was like, it was everything. It was everything that a society needed to function, and more. Entertainment wise, they had everything. Hotels, banks, um, pharmacies, doctors, everything that they needed was within the community. And as I said, it started with land ownership. And of course, they were within a physical community. They were in their own little hub called Greenwood. So everything was there. And so moving forward today, in regards to the Black community and just how we can, and then it's so, one thing that I always think about is like, okay, depending on where you're from, if we're talking about the diaspora, people living in Canada, the UK, America, it's a bit different. But when we think about like Jamaica, Caribbean, all the countries within Africa, it's a different situation. If you want to talk about being a Black community, they are the Black community, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have everything, but at the same time, we know that there's a lot of different political things within those communities um, that may cause a lot of hindrance as to ownership.
Mm-hmm. But that, because my mind would go into tech as well, because I'm kind of, even though my past was like I was strong in tech back in the day, but now tech is not my strongest point. But like I was big on tech, and the I think, of course, it's not 1920, right? It's not 1921. There's a lot more that we have access to, like a lot more. Like, yeah, I'm just imagining in my mind. I'm just thinking that if these guys had access to what we have access to today, to today, to today, they would have done so much more. So the doing this may even look different, right? It might not even be, like, yes, of course, we know real estate is good.
Mm-hmm.
But it might take a different form. It's very, very possible, but it depends on a person's mind.
Yeah.
You understand? So
Sure.
there's another way to do it. If you can't, so I'm saying it might take a different form. It might not necessarily be like
Land
I understand.
ownership.
Yeah,
I
no,
understand.
yeah. So I'm not opposed to that at all. But I'm
for
saying
sure.
it's just it now depends on the creativity of a group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we get you have the end goal that you want, and then you're trying to figure out how can you move from where you are to where you need to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then of course, you think about an innovative way to actually move to this place, right? So it doesn't have to actually look like maybe a physical community. It could be something online as well, which is something that might sound a certain way, but they're just there's just so many ways. And I have there's a few things that I had in my mind, but I won't say this one thing because it might be a little bit controversial a little bit. So we'll throw that for now. But there are different things that you can do, and you can take on this problem from all different angles. But and the good thing about present day is that people are becoming more woke, as they say, right? People are becoming more aware,
Mm-hmm.
and people are actively, some of them, looking for solutions,
Yeah.
right? They're trying to like remedy what's going on. They see what's going on, and they're saying, you know what? A few years from now, we want the world to be different, and we're gonna do what we can do today to make sure that that is the case for our kids and our posterity. So that's something that people are doing. And the reason why we talk about this, and I keep saying this over and over again, for just in case there's just that one person that's watching, or those 5 people that are watching, who are saying, okay, well, blah 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 blah, here they go again. The reason is this: we would like not to be doing this in terms of having to do the things that we're doing, in terms of finding solutions and trying to repair the image of black people and trying to do all these things. But because it's a problem and we are on the receiving end, so we understand it because we live the experience, something has to be done. And this is the way it
Mhm.
is. People
Mhm.
who are outside, who are, don't have similar experiences, won't get it. But sometimes you can draw a parallel between something that they face if they're also a group that has been oppressed or struggling, they can identify in a sense because your experience sort of run parallel to theirs. They can maybe identify like, okay, okay, I feel this way, so maybe it's similar to what this person is going through. But if someone can't doesn't have that, it's really hard for them to empathize. And a lot of people as well don't care, and they'll never understand what another person is going through. But the reason why these things are done is because there's a reason for it. It's not that we're trying to like fight for the sake of fighting, because it's better to relax and chill. Drink a coconut on the beach. It's a lot better, right? But you understand you can't drink a coconut on the beach if there's so much work to be done. You
Mhm.
got to put that off, inevitably or indefinitely, I should say,
Mhm.
until a solution has been had. Maybe you can take a break, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I know that there definitely are a lot of like somebody just mentioned about black networks, and like there are definitely platforms out there if you search online that will list,
Oh yeah,
black businesses to support. For example, if you do a
there's
lot
a
of online.
directory. I think it's called. I'm not. There's a black directory, international. It's not international, or it's just for the states. I think
Mhm.
it's called blackwall.st.
I think
I
I've been on
think
that site
that's what it's
before.
called, and it's like a directory of black businesses. And so you guys can look it up. And the thing is, it needs to be a deliberate and concerted effort to support black businesses. And when I talk about this, I always talk about two sides of it. I talk about potential customers, and I also talk about the business owners as well, because some people, not all, they offer a subpar product or service. They offer subpar and unacceptable customer service. And if you're doing business at all, you can't be known for these things. You understand? So if you want customers to come to you, you need to make sure that your product is at industry standards or even higher. So you got to do that. And as a customer, when you're doing what you're doing, when you're trying to go and buy something, it might take a added it might take more effort. It might take additional 15 minutes. Maybe got to drive a little bit further to go down to this black owned shop or whatever the case is, or find this black owned this or that. And then I think Q spoke about something before, that some people will have a black front, but they're actually not black. So behind the scenes, they aren't.
Mhm.
But for those that you know about, right, you go and you support them, and you find a way. And there are people who are doing all sorts of things, right? And I know not every black person has the same mind, and as I said, some people won't see the issues, and some people will disagree, and it's just the way it is. So you won't know their mindset really, but then if you go there enough times, you might understand where they are, and then you can pick their brains and see if they are interested in doing things that can actually help the community overall, what they have in mind.
Mhm.
Who knows, right? So there's so many things. So I think that's one way, because as we said earlier, money talks, and people say that. So if you got money, if you can do stuff, then it's like there are certain things that you can bring about. But if you ain't got no money, you can't do anything really, right? You can do things if you ain't got money, if you got connections and you got people who are willing, to lend you their efforts and lend you their, just different things. Um, you know, yeah, open their Rolodex to you, or just assist you in some way, shape, or form. Not monetarily, but in kind, or stuff like that. But that's one thing. That's one thing that we can do. And the one of the biggest things, and this is where my mind is. My mind is in media, because I think that is very, very important. We're so glued to our phones and Netflix and Hulu and all these different things, that we're being fed daily Facebook videos, YouTube videos. We're being fed daily with usually negative things, and sometimes the very absence of our people
Mhm.
being portrayed in these positive movies is speaking to us subconsciously. The very absence of our presence speaks volumes. And so sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, okay, you don't see any black people, I am a person that recognizes patterns, and when I'm watching movies, I usually see that you hardly find movies with a black father and son having a really good relationship, or a black father and his children having a really good relationship. But whenever you see a movie with other people, usually like with white people in the movies, they always show this strong bond between the father and son and the father and other kids. There was a movie I was watching, I can't remember the name of it, but there was such a strong bond between the father and the son that if you are a white person and you're watching that, I'm sure you'll see that and you might want to emulate what you saw. And you might say, oh, this is the norm for white people. Yeah. And then if a black person is watching something and they see a certain type of behavior being portrayed, they might say, okay, well, yeah, that's just how black people are. Maybe that's the way I should be. And even if you don't say that audibly, subconsciously it might register in your mind. It might get planted in your mind, and then you start acting that out unbeknownst to you. And you're like, it's like someone that said they'll never be like their mother or their father, and then you grow up being just like that person, right? You're trying to fight against it, but you end up doing the same thing. Some people manage to escape that. But media, I've actually spoken to people that actually seem not to get it. But I really believe, but it's I have the vision in my mind, so I understand, what we're trying to do. Or like the not even right now exact, but we're kind of doing. It's almost like a byproduct right now, where some people their mindset is like, okay, cool, okay, black people are actually doing some things, right? Like, okay, like, what are they doing in Asia or in Japan or whatever country? Like, okay, and then if they had a stereotype, it's chipping away at that for some people, right? Those who are sort of like a Malibu kind of thing. But media plays a big role. So I think that's something that needs to be tackled as well, from the consumption, right? Because some of these people produces movies and TV shows that they know that people will watch, right? So if it's not making money in the theaters, they don't want to make it, right? So if you can starve their pockets by not supporting the movies that are showing us in the most horrible way possible, or perpetuates a certain type of stereotype, then that they might reconsider making those movies. And if people start supporting movies that show us in a different light, more than the other light, the negative light, then they might start making more of those movies because they care about money. Most of these people care about money. So that's the way it works. So media is very, very important. So your consumption, watch your consumption. Try to find those movies that are uplifting, those movies that show us in the light that show us rightly, and avoid the other movies which they glorify. Of course, sometimes we like stuff like, people slinging and doing, like, for instance, like John Wick. And you give an example, there's not a lot of black people in that movie, I can't recall, but I've seen that movie and stuff like that. When you're watching that, try to, like, limit your consumption. I know it's hard. It's almost like in Jamaica when you have lyrics, like people like, Vibes Cartel back in the day, and I don't know, they had what you call bad man lyrics and gun song, and when you listen to the way that they sling the rhymes, you're like, it's like, yo, it's, you're just like, it's so sick kind of thing. But and I understand, because I love music, and you understand that, and you understand it, and you're saying, man, they're so creative. Like Vibes Cartel is like one of the geniuses in music in present day, in any genre. And you think about some of the things that he said back in the day, mostly back in the day, because now he's not really, he's in more like songs about, like, women and stuff like that. But when you stuff like that, when you consume those things, and you understand, you get what I'm saying? Like, I understand, trust me, I get it. But I believe if a person is really creative, you can find some other way to, like, to write some songs that will uplift people, and the songs that last forever, like, are songs like that Bob Marley came out with. I'm not saying they're gonna sing like Bob Marley. You can still do it with style and flavor, and make it, like, make people dance and things still. But the message behind it is one that will drive people in the right direction. So I challenge the creatives out there who, are producing content in whatever shape or form, to try to move that way. And people might not respond to it initially, maybe not, because whatever, because we've been, our appetite has been sort of like trained by the other type of food and thing. I'm not talking about food like figuratively, I'm talking about that, or metaphorically. I'm not talking about like actual food. So, start and see what happens. But media plays a big role, and even if no one does it, that's one of my missions. That's one of my goal, and we'll use this platform, as we evolve as well, to focus on repairing the image of black people as much as we possibly can. And I believe personally that we should, one, question the impossible, and that anything is possible. That's my mindset.
Yeah. Um, I totally forgot what I was
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
gonna say. No,
Yeah.
no, actually, no, actually, what I was gonna say was, as you were talking about choosing wisely what you support as well, I wanted to bring up what's happening with Korea and Japan right now. And I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but Korea has actually is starting a movement now to not purchase or shop at any Japanese business because of a recent declaration from Prime Minister Abe here. They Korea's been taken off Japan's whitelist for certain technological, I can't remember exactly, some technological stuff that Korea usually imports from Japan, and then so the Korean population has begun to fight against that by deciding that they are not going to shop or buy any Japanese products. Of course, there's always going to be people who will, and a lot of people are also um, saying, okay, we're actually hurting Korean business people who are selling Japanese products. However, some people are like, I don't care. I ain't gonna buy. I'm not gonna buy anything that's Japanese. So it's just interesting to see to just see like how Korea as a country. Of course, it's a small movement that's slowly expanding, but they are growing in their zealousness. Is that, I don't even know if that's the right word. In their mindset to just not to put their foot down and not purchase any Japanese products because of something that the prime minister over here in Japan said, and made a decision to change. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. It's there are so many ways, and there's so many people who are doing things. Like in different groups across the world. Black people who are doing things in different continents, in different countries. So we're just a part of this general move that's actually taking place, right? Generally, different people are tackling different aspects, of the issue. Um, and I think it's important that people find out what aspect of the issues are not being addressed, and they can actually take up that, because and sometimes you may need multiple people on one issue as well. That can help work as well, but not too many people on one aspect or one issue, while other issues needs to be addressed as well. So there's also that. So we're gonna open the phone lines briefly. Hopefully, yeah, we're really trying to like work on the time, with the podcast. So we're at like 57 minutes thereabout. So we're gonna be on for maybe like 10 more minutes thereabout. So I'm gonna 15 at the most. So we're gonna open the phone lines, and the question I have for the potential caller, we're gonna have it open for like 5 minutes. Is one of the question. If there's something that's burning, in your mind that you want to talk about briefly, please share it. But the question is, where do you think black people are in the world today? That's the question. 2019. Do you think we're further? Let me not even put any words in your mouth. Where do you think black people are today, and do you think um, there's an issue that we need to resolve in terms of our position within the world? And one of the reasons why we're so concerned about experiences across the globe is that whenever we go somewhere else, because of what media has fed people, we have this some trepidation in our minds when we're thinking about going to another country maybe, and we're saying, man, like, are they accepting of black people? We hear stories about different countries that don't like black people and things that people go through, and we're like, we want to avoid it because safety is of paramount importance. So as a result of that, we try to seek out and find information that can actually help us. Like, should I go to, like India or Qatar or whatever country? I'm not saying these countries or whatever. I'm just calling out random names,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. So yeah. So it's one of those things, right? Because there's a reason for it. You understand? But yeah. So we're gonna open the lines now.
Okay, so as you open the lines, thank you, TM, for your $5 donation. So you asked a question: does Japan's 99% conviction rate scare you as a foreigner in Japan? I
Um,
can answer it first.
I
Can I answer first?
No, well, my answer is short.
Mm.
Not really in terms of like if it's Yeah, I don't. I actually don't think about it. It's usually like if you get yourself in some problems, then it
Mm-hmm.
might be you might start worrying at that point because now it's like okay, they have a 99% conviction rate, and then in your mind you say that the courts are not in favor of the foreigner, so you
Mm-hmm.
might feel like justice won't be met out to you because of your who you are. So you might think justice might be perverted as a result of that. But if you're outside of that, I don't think it is something that really enters your mind too much.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It doesn't bother me because I'm not breaking any Japanese law. Um, however, it actually, well, I don't know if it would affect me in cases like this, but I know of cases, for example, where women have been sexually assaulted, and the problem with getting their actual perpetrator convicted is a problem. So that's a whole nother issue. But for me personally, being locked up, no.
Yeah.
But if a crime is committed against me, there's actually a higher chance that as a foreigner maybe, and the person perpetrator possibly being
Yeah. You know what? There's something incoming, upcoming. So you guys gotta stay tuned for that. I don't want to really say anything about it, but it's quite interesting. But you guys will, if you stick around the channel, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's quite interesting. So yeah, that's all I'll say. But just stick around for that. Yeah. So the phone lines are now open for 5 minutes, guys. 300 seconds. If you guys want to call and talk about briefly, brevity, please, that needs to be exercised. To talk about the issue, you can call in and maybe and if there's something that's on your heart that you want to share that you think can uplift us or move us forward, please do so. And also, when you call in, the question like, what do you think the position is of Black people right now? Because I want to see the mindset of people like when it comes on to like, okay, where are we? Where do you see us
hmm
in 2019? Yeah, so the lines are open for 5 minutes. I'm being look. I edit all these things, so I'm making sure that I keep it within a certain time limit because I have a lot of work.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
hmm No, anyways, but no, I guess we can just continue to talk on the topic until someone decides to call in. Um, there's nothing particular in the comments.
But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. For those of you guys who stay up, and you drink some coffee,
Mm.
maybe, well, I don't know, or espresso, and you're like, okay, I gotta stay up for this podcast, and your eyes are like red, and you're like, you just you're watching. Thank you guys, we appreciate you. And those of you guys who are listening in podcast land, please thank you so much for listening. And guys, you can listen to the audio version of this and past broadcasts as well on our podcast, like on the streaming platform, podcast streaming platform of your choice as well. So you can actually do that. So this is the video version where we can
Yeah,
interact and stuff. But we
right.
do have an actual podcast that you can listen to this. So this it goes out after this broadcast as well, so you guys can check that out. Yeah, and
Thank you, Lala Papa.
let's see, is this it? Okay, yeah,
And yes, we always do. Well, moving forward, our podcasts are always live, but as he said, they will be available on all those podcast platforms if you missed it.
yes. So there's that. So we have that, and again, so in addition to these discussions, the Melanated Files podcast will feature these weekly discussions, of course, one in the audio format, so you can drive and listen to it, run and listen to it, cook and listen to it, clean and listen to it, all those type of things and listen to it, and also the Melanated Files interviews that we have. We'll be releasing them on the podcast as well. We'll select a few and just start releasing them, and then we'll come up to date. So maybe the ones that you'll see for the well, it might be a mix of new interviews that are released first on the channel and then on the podcast, and some from months past, or maybe years past or whatever.
Yeah.
For you guys to listen to as well.
Years
Yeah. So
past.
yeah, yeah.
The
So
the summer over here is winding down if people are interested, but there's still a lot of summer festivals going on. Someone actually was saying that they go ahead. Advise the people to Japan.
I
Actually,
know,
if
I see what Earl is saying. Earl, no, like no, the way I'm doing it is, and I changed the way, because because as I said, we're gonna speak first and then we open the lines, all right? And then before even the lines, we'll read the comments after, but we gotta have structure, in the interest of time. So yeah, so the way I'm doing it right now is where we're gonna be doing it. Sometimes, of course, we're gonna have guests on as well. But the comments we are not gonna be reading the comments, and because a lot of there when you look at there are not that many live podcasts out there, and if I guess the ones I've actually seen, people don't really interact with the chat much, and there's a reason for that. And when I'm editing, I find I'm like, okay, I see why people don't really interact with the chat. So we have a little section where we interact with you guys who are watching, right? But it's a live podcast broadcast, so it's almost like we probably should pretend like you guys are not even there, and just like record the podcast and then we leave. But we have a section where we interact with you guys, we read the comments and stuff, and we open the phone lines so you guys can call in as well, and share some thoughts with us. So that's how we're doing it, and for my sake and for you guys' sake as well, we'll do it this way, which I think is good. Um, how do you call? The number's on the screen. The number again is 1-814-822-0317. That is 1-814-822-0317. And you guys have 2 more minutes. Well, not even 2 more minutes. 1 more minute. Okay. So yeah, I would love. Where are they now? All people. I see. I
People
see.
we've
Okay.
interviewed.
I see. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Cool. Let's
Oh,
see. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, I think that's it. So we're gonna close the line. I'm like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, because it's already 1 hour and 6 minutes, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, someone's probably gonna call. We might give someone 1 more minute, okay? Because I'm running away from like the long editing process. so,
yeah,
so
maybe
yeah,
we.
so yeah, so I think that's it. It's 4 a.m. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, guys, so that's it, right? So we spoke about a lot of good stuff, I think. So you guys can rewatch the podcast. You can listen to it again. I dropped the link in the description, or you can go to anchor.fm slash forward slash mfile. So anchor.fm forward slash mfiles. Right? Oh God, who is this? Who is this?
347.
Oh my God, this person just called, eh? I was just leaving. Who is this?
That's amazing.
Hello. You got like five
Hey,
minutes.
Ranzo.
Thanks for calling. What's up?
What's up? I just wanted to be the last customer today, man. Love your podcast, and have a wonderful evening, all right?
Oh, who's
Keep
this?
the
Who's
great
this?
content, man.
Who's this?
This is Ranzo. This is Ricky Dan.
Oh, Rikudan. Oh, Rikudan. Oh, okay. What's up, man? Thanks for calling. I know Jeff
I'll be
said.
there in October. Sorry?
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, you said something. You're gonna be here in October.
Yeah, I'll be there in October. I would just recommend, I know you guys do the interviews with interviewing a lot of black folks in Japan.
Mhm.
I would just wanted to know if you guys ever thought about doing like interviews foreigners, like people visiting just for like short time, and ask them like what brings them to visit to Japan, even if it's short term, like vacation. I just think it'll be like an interesting spin on it.
No, yeah, we
You
definitely
know?
have. Yeah, we've I've done that before, but you guys haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it's something that we can think about. And if there's something that we
Okay.
think the person can contribute to the community, of course, why not?
All right, awesome, man. That's all. Thanks, guys. Have a good night, all right?
All right, take care.
You
Thanks for
Talk to you
too.
calling,
later.
Take
Rico.
care. Thank you for
All right,
calling.
later. All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
And what was it? What was it? There was something. Yeah, Jeff said he was gonna call this week, but I guess Jeff fell asleep. Yeah,
Well,
and
that was last week. Oh, another caller. Y'all just coming in.
this is unknown. I always get suspicious when I see unknown.
It's
Okay, let's
okay.
see. Hello, Mushi Mushi. How you doing? Hello.
Hey,
Hey, what's up?
so I was like on my boyfriend's Facebook and I saw all these trashy little messages you sent to him. You think my man wants you?
Okay.
Okay.
What?
Trolling.
You know what?
Baby
I felt
trolling.
like when I saw the unknown, I'm so suspicious of unknown numbers because someone has been calling like use an unknown number for the longest while. I'm just like like when I heard the pause, I'm like I can bet it's like some weird person, and I'm like what? But I actually went in my mind to think I'm like first of all I don't even really send people messages. Like people send me and sometimes it takes me so long to get to messages sometimes. I'm like what?
First of all, that person made that up, whoever you are. Okay?
Anyways.
Y'all just watching, you just want to waste people's time,
Oh,
okay?
God.
But it's okay. We got a good laugh out of it. Thank God it was like PG.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
people,
But I just
man.
pressed the button real fast. I'm just like, let me just. Okay. What's this? Laugh. Okay, everyone is laughing. It's funny. It's like, what was it? It was because when the person started saying it though, I was like, okay. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we post videos on Facebook. Okay, let's see. Okay, maybe they saw a comment because sometimes people say, there's a comment on like under a video like something very offensive or something, and they're like, oh, have you seen this comment? So people would like send me a message and say, oh, have you seen this comment or something? So I thought it was something like that maybe we posted something and
No,
then
but
so when the
she's talking
person
about
start going, I'm like,
Facebook message. Do you? Okay, we're
come
not even.
on,
We're not even gonna give you the
come
time
up with
of day.
something better though. Really, like
Come on.
what?
Now.
Oh my god. Oh god.
Okay, guys, we're gonna really try and work because I know a lot of people like calling for free. Yes, yes. So we're gonna figure it out. But I think, but I don't know how it's gonna work, but we'll figure it out.
Welcome to space or the toilet. It's what's this? No, yeah, we listen, guys. Come on.
That was a
Look,
Russian.
we understand the way the world works. You always have that one person, or you got people like that. So there will be weird people, there will be haters, there will be supporters. You always have those people in every group. You can't escape it. It's just a part. If you're doing something, there will be haters, there will be supporters, there will be just weird people, there will be all saboteurs and all type of characters.
When is the next live?
When is the next live podcast? So we're gonna be winding down now. Okay, so on a positive note, next week is the next live podcast. Is Saturdays, right? So Japan time. So now it's like about one. Wait, no, that's fast, right? It's almost like 12:30. I don't even know what time it is.
It's 12:06 p.m.
Okay, 12:06. Yeah, my clock is super fast. So it's 12:06 p.m. right now, and we should start at 10 a.m. JST, Japan Standard Time, and that time you can check to see what time that is relative to where you reside. But it's every Saturday for the most part. If we won't be available on Saturday for some reason, it will take place on another day. I think it's Friday, I said, or some other day. But we'll let you guys know in advance. And guys, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you guys coming on. The goal of this podcast, the mission, is to create a space, right, for solution-driven discussions about issues facing the Black community across the globe. So we're trying to find solutions to advance our position to remedy some of the issues that we face, and that's what it's about. That's what this discussion is about. We'll have guests, and it will take different forms as we move forward. And also the M-Files interviews will also be on this podcast as well, so you can listen to it as you go about your day as well, starting next week. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think enough to say. Goodbye, guys. Take care. Thanks for joining the live podcast as well. Those podcast listeners after the fact.
Yes.
Okay, you can edit this part out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. This thing here. Okay, is that it?
Bye, everybody.
Let's look at some of these comments.
Earl thought were you talking about Earl again?
About what?
He just said, "Are you talking about me again, Earl?"
About what? No.
I don't know.
About what? No.
I was.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're having another live exploration stream.
What are
tomorrow,
we doing?
I don't know yet. So tomorrow we're having a live exploration stream at 2 p.m. JST. It might be earlier. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to do something fun. I'm not sure what it's gonna be. But,
yeah, you know what? There's a lot of
we'll
stuff.
try to. I'm not sure. Let's
still.
see.
Maybe we can go to like a fireworks festival or something.
I'm not sure. But yeah, what's this? Don't mess with my.
Boxing time.
Okay. Okay, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. My mouth is so dry. Guys, again, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys taking the time, some time out of your day to listen to this, to watch this. Remember, if you liked this live stream, please give it a big thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on the Black experience across the globe. Until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, guys. Is that Tiffany? What did she say?
I don't know what she said.
Bye, guys.
Bye.